graders. Today our mini lesson is going to be about comparing nonfiction and fiction books that are about the same topic. So let me kind of show you what I mean. In our last mini lesson we read the story Chicks and Salsa, and it talked a lot about, well, our main character was a rooster, and then the chickens kind of started this whole thing on the farm where they were, all the different farm animals were making different foods, and they were going to have a big fiesta, and they were doing a lot of things that a real chicken or a real rooster couldn't do in real life. So we're going to use this book, and we're going to kind of compare that with this book that we're going to look at today called Chicken. So I want you to think about how this could be different. Well, when I open up the book, the first thing I notice is this. And I know that this is, that's right, the table of contents. We learned about that a few lessons ago. If I open my Chicks and Salsa book and look at the beginning, I don't see a table of contents. Don't see one there. Don't see one here. And it just goes straight into the story. So there is something that is different between my fiction and my nonfiction book already. One thing though that I will tell you I notice is kind of the same is that I see chickens on the front, and I also see a chicken on the front of this one. So there's something that is the same. Alright, so when I open it up to the first reading page, I notice that I have headings. I have a diagram with labels. Same thing over here. In Chicks and Salsa, did we have any diagrams that had labels? I don't think so. I think most of our pictures... Oh, something else I just noticed. These are real pictures. This is a real chicken. If I look at the chickens in my Chicks and Salsa and I put it up next to my real chicken, they look very different. So that's one of the things that I can tell is different, is this one has drawings that kind of make the chickens have like real expressions on their faces versus what a real chicken looks like. So there's another difference. Now the thing that's the same so far is that it's about chickens. This says all animals and humans go through different stages in their life as they grow. This is called a life cycle. A chicken is a bird. Chickens have 2 legs, 2 wings, a beak, and they are covered in feathers. Eggs. A female chicken called a hen makes a nest on the ground to lay her eggs in. The nest is mostly made of straw. The hen lays her eggs inside a nest. Inside each egg is a tiny dot called an embryo that will eventually grow into a chicken. One thing I noticed so far is that when I'm reading this, it's giving me lots of information about chickens. Did Chicks and Salsa really tell us any information about chickens? Not really. It was more of a funny story. It made me laugh. And it kind of made me think, well, chickens can't really do that. Where this one is giving me some good information about chickens. So there's another difference. Growing eggs. A hen sits on her eggs to keep them warm. This is called brooding. This is an important job that helps the eggs to grow. Inside the egg, the tiny chicken embryo is growing. It eats the yellow yolk inside the egg for its food. The hard shell of the egg protects the embryo. Something else I notice is I see a bold word, and that goes back with our nonfiction text features. That must be an important word. I don't think I saw any bold words in this, except I do notice like this word is really big, and it is kind of dark for fiesta. And I don't think it's because it's a key term that I need to know to understand the story. I think it's because it was exciting. They were very excited about it, and so the author used the big type to show how excited they were about it, versus the author used the bold type here to point out that, hey, this is something that you need to know. Hatching chicks. After around 3 weeks of growing, the baby chicken breaks out of its egg. This is called hatching. The baby chicken that comes out is called a chick. The hen keeps her chicks warm under her wings. After another 2 weeks, the chicks will be strong enough to explore outside the nest. So I hear this word chicks. Well, that word was used a lot in Chicks and Salsa. I find it interesting though because the chicks, the word chicks they're using in here is to talk about these baby chickens. And in here, when I look and it talks about the chicks, they are all adults. So that's kind of unusual. That's different. Again, this author's trying to tell us a story and enjoyment, and this author is just trying to teach us and help us learn about chickens. Growing chicks. Chicks look for their own food. If they are outside, chicks will look for worms and bugs on the ground. As they grow bigger, the chicks will lose their fluffy feathers and grow bigger, stronger feathers. They will also grow combs on their head. Chickens. It takes between 6 and 8 months for chicks to grow into adult chickens. After this, the young hens are ready to lay eggs of their own. Male chickens are called roosters or cockerels. They are usually larger than hens, and they also have larger combs and longer tail feathers. Well, there's that word rooster, and we heard a lot about the rooster in Chicks and Salsa. And if we look at the picture here, we can see there's definitely some differences in how the rooster looks. However, if you look, he has a very large comb in Chicks and Salsa, just like in our real book. He also has these big, bright colored feathers, kind of just like the chicken in this book. And if you look at the hens, you can tell he definitely had a bigger comb and a brightly colored tail. So in some cases, in Chicks and Salsa, the illustrations do demonstrate real life. The rooster does look very different than the hens. Food. Nearly all chickens are domesticated, which means that they do not live in the wild. Instead, they live on farms or are kept as pets. Chickens are fed by the people who own them. If chickens spend their time outside, they will look for food to eat on the ground. They often eat the bugs and seeds they find in the soil. Well, if you listen here, it says that most chickens do not live in the wild. They live on farms or are kept as pets. And chickens are fed by the people who own them, which is exactly what we saw in Chicks and Salsa. We know that Mr. and Mrs. Nuthatcher had the farm, and that the chickens and the rooster all lived on the farm. So that is definitely the same. Clucking chickens. There are over 65 different types of chicken, and one of the strangest is the silky. These chickens have fluffy white feathers, black skin, and blue earlobes. Chickens make lots of sounds to tell each other different things. Mother hens can tell their chicks when they have found food. World record breakers. The most eggs laid. The most eggs laid in 1 year is 371. They were laid by a type of chicken called a white leghorn. The heaviest chicken egg, weight 1 pound. That's about the same weight as a soccer ball. That must have been a big egg. And then this shows us the life cycle of a chicken, which we talked about is where we see the step-by-step progression as to how chickens grow. And when we come to the end of this story, we have, again, a glossary and an index, just like our non-fiction text will have. On Chicks and Salsa, I don't think I remember seeing a glossary or an index. So here's my end of the book. Nope, no glossary or index there. No glossary or index there. Or here. So I can tell that even though both of these books have chickens involved in them, they are very different. I can tell that this one is the fiction book because my pictures are not real and it does not give me information. It's more of a story, fun to enjoy. This book, I can tell, is the nonfiction book because it does give me information. It uses nonfiction text features and it has real photographs. So hopefully, if you're picking up a book today, you'll be able to tell if it's fiction or nonfiction. Thanks. Bye.